Well, hello, my beautiful YouTube family. I think where we last left off, Erin and I were updating what we are calling Horse Hall, and there's a couple more updates that I need to do, and then we need to get our butts inside, because this heat wave that came, I feel like everybody in the desert jinxed it, because we're like, oh my god, we're having such a great summer, and then it's like, watch this. We're gonna be doing a living room makeover. We're not renovating until next year, but that doesn't mean that we can't make this house a home and feel super proud when we host. So I'm gonna bring you into that, but there's a couple things we gotta do. The main thing that we wanted to get done before the heat rolled in was giving Mouse an actual hay feeder. I don't like when the horses eat off the sand, so we just built something that was a little bit more unique than a basic hay feeder, which is going to change down the line. But in order to just have a place to catch his hay, to hang a hay net, and to avoid him, again, eating off the ground. One thing we are going to be doing throughout the entire property, we are falling in love with burning wood, which is also called Sho Sugibon. And so we're just, again, carrying that over to the wall that we did over by Mouse to keep it a little cohesive and also elevate it a tad. I am thoroughly enjoying creating on a budget without compromising aesthetics, burning the plywood literally to the AC cover, to the garden, to the back of Mouse's wall for the wind block. Again, it just is a budget-friendly way to build, but have things look nice. And if you burn it to a crisp and then chisel it off like we've been showing you, I think it makes the wood look so much better. In the episode before, which I will card for you, we showed you how we just built this wall for the wind block for Mouse. And so everything that we are installing into the studs behind it, so it's extra secure. Just like we're about to do with the living room makeover, even though we're not going full budget, full renovation, it doesn't mean that you can't make things look nice and function for exactly how you need it to make your life even easier, even though Mouse was like, what do you mean my hay is wrapped? Let me know if you guys would be interested in spending a day with the horses. I'd love to just literally vlog all day and show you how I am still getting used to being a new horse girl, and I am trying to progress, and now having a second horse that is much different than Gracie. I just don't know if that's ever interesting to you guys, but please comment down below if that's something you are into. Also, just so you know, right now the two stables are right next to each other, kind of horizontally. We want to make them run vertically like this with connecting gates and run along stables, so when we feed in the monsoon weather, everything is protected and everything is just streamlined. But that is for another day. There are 3 simple ways to update an outdated space such as this. Now, the living room has seen many phases over the last 5 years, and we have definitely grown in and grown up into this space. I'm excited to have that be reflected, but we got to start with the tedious work that will make the biggest difference, which is removing the popcorn ceilings, smoothing out the texture on the walls, and grinding down the concrete floors. Ages ago, a couple years back, when I thought I was going to renovate this entire house in 90 days, who is she? I did test the ceiling for asbestos and it came back negative. I definitely should be wearing a respirator and some more protection, but it was 108 degrees and I was literally cooking already. So I just kind of sprayed the ceiling with some water, let it soak, and went in with a couple of different scrapers, like a floor scraper, and landed on a paint scraper actually being the best thing to knock the texture off of the ceiling. We started this project on August 7th, actually, in the middle of a crazy heat wave. And so I definitely split up my days to make sure I wasn't absolutely, just demolishing my body, which my body does feel demolished after all of this. And so I just took it in chunks. Like I did a quarter of the ceiling the next day, removed the fireplace, kind of took it in smaller bites, as I say, because a huge makeover like this can seem very overwhelming, which it is for one person. And now that, Aaron is in my life, it still feels overwhelming, but she got some help. But I tried to get as much done while he was working throughout the day so he could come home and help me with the stuff. I was like, please. We will be reusing that fireplace elsewhere on the property, but we needed to clear it out, honestly, because it is just such an awkward placement. It really just kind of halted the functionality of the entire living room floor. And so now that that's out of there, we have a true blank space. I got this. I can film in front of my husband. I don't know what to do because you're looking at me. This is the reality of the in-between. Obviously, we cleared out the space and we actually kind of like all the plants in here, so now we want to revisit the dining room again. Anyways, that's not what I'm here to talk about. What I want to say is you guys know that I love my animals, and they're not just my pets, they're my family, and I think they should be eating better than we do, so that's why I feed my boys Maeve. Maeve is the first and only human-grade protein-rich raw food for dogs made with real ingredients you can see and name just by looking. How we eat totally affects our mood, behavior, energy levels, cognition, and immune function. The same goes for our dogs. My boys have been on Maeve for quite some time now, and there's a ton of benefits, but honestly, what I have noticed is relief from allergy symptoms, even this desert heat, a shinier and healthier skin and coat, cleaner teeth, fresher breath. I mean, it really has just overall changed them for the better. It feels so good feeding your dogs what they deserve, and the best part about it is it's delivered directly to your door once a month, and you just store it in your freezer. If you guys are interested in feeding your dog family Maeve, you can actually click the link in the description box, or you can scan the QR code that's been on the screen and use my code Rachel Metz and get 20% off your first order today. Okay, let's get back into the makeover. Also, I didn't just scrape the ceiling down. Aaron did that while I was working, so what you're about to see me do, I'm doing 2% of the ceiling. Keeping things clean throughout the dustiest phase of this makeover was next to impossible, but definitely necessary so you don't lose your brain. So I just have to be honest. Every time you do a part of this, I highly recommend cleaning, because if you do not, when you turn around and everything is covered in dust, you almost lose your brain. So let's try to avoid that. You also kind of have to take it in strides when you realize even though you've cleaned up, the next phase is going to require more dust and it's kind of repetitive, like us grinding the concrete floors. We have done this before together. I had this stand-up concrete holder that you had to like manage and I felt like I was riding a bull. No, Aaron was like, hey, I have this floor grinder with this gnarly attachment, which I will link down below for you guys. He connected it to a dust collection system and legitimately ground the whole thing down by hand on his knee. I just, like a million times over. I can't wait to show you because it does make such a massive difference. But I need to be honest, if I was doing this by myself, yes, it is completely doable. But what I learned about Aaron is he used to do this as a side hustle. So when he was sanding it versus when I used the tool, you can tell that he has done it so much that he can get it down even pretty like right off the bat, where when I was doing it, I was like creating lines and a little bit of divots. Practice makes perfect though with everything. But with this concrete floor, I wasn't about to try to do any kind of part of it since it is the largest room in the house. And so I just let Aaron take it away. And I just don't. The muscle that was required for this, very grateful he has those. We grabbed a couple of paint samples. We definitely wanted to make this room more moody, so we threw them up on the wall before we move forward with grinding the concrete floors, and then you are just gonna see me consistently skimming. I skimmed for days. He ground for days. So I am so sorry that some of this footage is so repetitive, but it is the reality of the process. The black that you see me trying to chisel up in hopes to make Aaron's life more easy, because grinding that down, I guess it gets a little gummy and you got to really work through it. I think it's called mastic, don't quote me. Every time Aaron said it, I just looked at him like, yeah, that sounds good. But that was making grinding the concrete floors a little bit more difficult. Obviously, when the concrete's more just bare, you are sanding less off and you don't have to put as much work in it. So most of the floor was covered in that. And so yes, again, it was just a process. This floor had so many divots because I think the fireplace was in a different location and there's a bunch of tack strips with the carpet that was originally in here, but don't worry, we are going to be filling those up. But again, taking the project in smaller chunks. Him and I had one goal each day and we tried our hardest to hit it. And so it allowed us, yes, it might have taken quote unquote a while. It actually didn't take a while. It's nuts how much work that him and I have gotten done in the last 2 weeks. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves entirely because you don't want to be completely dead after this project, even though it's almost unavoidable with these changes that you have to make because it is so repetitive to get it right, to not have to redo. The first coat of skim on the textured walls, I like to do just straight super light joint compound directly on the wall and smooth it out best I can. I then go in and wet sand it with a sponge to really understand where the imperfections are, because then I'll fill that with more joint compound and then go ahead and sand it down after it fully dries. As far as the ceiling, I sanded that down with a vacuum sander with a dust collection system on it because I just was over creating dust. And as I was sanding the ceiling down, I realized how much joint compound would take to smooth this out. So I said, let's just stick to the walls and we'll come up with a solution, you know, with our husband to make our lives easier. Now, believe it or not, there are 3 different types of air conditionings in this living room. It's absolutely insane. So we want to start to remove one by one as we can. This one first because it just takes up so much power. We don't use it and it is very unsightly, even though it was necessary probably at one point. To patch a hole, it's actually fairly simple. Aaron framed out the hole in 2x4s for me, and then you cut down the drywall to its size, plop it into place, screw it into the 2x4s, and you're literally going to use joint compound and drywall tape. Just go over it, and then it will literally disappear once you start adding your top layers. After the wet sanding, filling the imperfections, and then dry sanding the whole wall with a very fine grit. I went from a 220 to 320. I am now going to go in and thin out this joint compound with some water and roll it onto the wall, and then use a, scraper to make it all smooth. I could have made my life a lot easier and done this on the first coat, but because of the amount of texture on these walls, going in with that super light but thicker joint compound allowed me to have more control of not only filling in all that texture, but because all these walls are uneven, I was able to float a decent amount of material when necessary. When you roll it on, you don't have that much control because it is so thin, so that's why I saved it for the last coat. I am just now realizing from far away, it looks like we're doing nothing. There is a close-up of the texture before and after once it's painted, so you can truly see the difference. And I am so sorry this is so repetitive, but this is part of the process. It is so worth it. But again, it does take a decent amount of work if you want to get it right. The last thing that we wanted to do was patch the concrete floor, and we are just going to be using this quick setting concrete by Quikrete, and then there's also a bottle of concrete adhesive that has like a blue label. It's a liquid that you're going to be like rubbing into those holes before you add this quick set mixture. You can see here that I'm going in with a toothbrush and that concrete adhesive before Aaron comes in and fills behind me. And honestly, tag teaming this whole project has made I'm realizing how much work I would put on myself and try to get it done within like a couple days time. This was 2 people, 2 weeks worth of work with us going honestly absolutely nonstop on the space. Aaron and I let the concrete patch dry before we literally hand in hand started painting the wall together. It was such a big moment. We also fell in love with this color because it's very similar to a plaster we would like to use. And again, this is a budget living room makeover, but in the renovation, it's nice to know that this color works and you're gonna get more depth with that plaster, that like clay play back and forth on the walls versus paint is just very flat. There's no dimension to it. I mean, you guys, this was the before, and it also cracks me up that 5 years ago I was sleeping on the floor in front of the only air conditioning in the house, and now Aaron and I are doing that together as we embark on actually making over this entire space. Yeah, this is where we're gonna call it a night because, are you kidding? We are absolutely pooped. Our bodies are totally worked. But let me show you the details of everything that we did. It's very interesting to look back, like when I was making this house a home, when Callie, Blaze, and I were settling in and just kind of finding our way. Not that I don't love what is happening here, but one thing that I have learned over the years is maximalism out here makes everything impossible to clean. So we are definitely going to be like dialing it back a little. Oh, I miss Callie Bella so much. And even though I miss her, something I noticed with completely ripping this space out and doing what we did to it, it completely shifted the energetics of the space, and how I feel is just so much lighter. The animals are responding differently to it. It is really crazy, even though, yes, it took a lot of work, and it's going to take a lot of work to get to the final product, how much of a difference just resetting your space can make for you. So I will see you guys in episode 2 of this budget-friendly living room makeover. Let me know what you think down below.